Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Tao Manifesting Tarot, the most unusual on the edge tarot reading anywhere. I don't care where you go. On the edge because I do things differently. First of all, I combine metaphysical experiences. I've done tarot for over 20 years. In that time, I have discovered, from my point of view, tarot doesn't predict a thing. Wasn't meant to. I have come to discover that tarot is the science of potential. We're talking frequencies, okay? You got cards. I use three because there's a magic to the number three. Three cards, and I put together a message that is clear, precise, concise, so that you can really get a sense of the frequency, okay? Again, it doesn't predict, it shows you your potential in the frequency message. You decide yes or no. I don't do rainbows. I don't do unicorn stuff. Too many astrologers and tarot people tell you shit that they think you want to hear. In the end, what they do is they give you a long, convoluted reading that's like chop suey. I mean, you can't pick out whatever you want to pick out in the reading. I don't do that. There's no fantasy here. We live in very difficult times, historic. In terms of humanity, we can go back 7,000 years. You go farther back than that, you hit the Younger Dryas, and things on the other side of the Younger Dryas get to be interesting. We'll leave it at that. But we know fairly well over the last 7,000 years, we have never been in this position. We can destroy ourselves. Oh, yeah, you got the earthquakes, you got the stuff falling from outer space, you got the solar eclipses, and all that kind of stuff that can do great damage. But we have two other things that we bring to the table. First, the possibility, as asinine as it is, but it is a possibility, nuclear proliferation, a war, nuclear war, which would devastate the planet. Then, of course, we have the robot revolution, the AI revolution, which is looking to wipe out our humanity. So the potential for destruction is amazing. So I want to do an honest, upfront tarot reading using tarot. I've done it for 20 years, but I bring in something else, some things else, actually. Numerology and astrology, they are the science of cycles. I've done them for 50 years, more than double the amount of time I've done for tarot. And the reason that I bring them in is because they are the science of cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. And what you do, you've heard the expression history repeats, it's because the cycles keep repeating. Not exactly the same way. Some cycles can last a couple of years, some cycles can last a couple of decades, a couple of centuries, a couple of thousand years longer. We have some cycles that we've become aware of that are 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 years old. So the astrology says, okay, we're going to do this tarot thing. We want you to tap into the frequency, or at least be aware of the frequency in the moment, so that you can make a decision. And we want you to make a good decision. So I'm going to bring in the astrology numerology. Think of it as sitting down to a magnificent dinner, whatever your favorite is. And we have all the bells and whistles. The table is beautifully set. We've got the china, the glass, the beautiful silver. I mean, it's all the way to the top. And then the tarot is the meal. It's my job to help you touch your kryptonite. That's being able to make pictures in your head. The Tao Manifesting Tarot theme for today, making a big deal out of nothing. Literally regenerating. When it looks like there's nothing left, when everything is gone, it's desolate, empty, something begins again. So that's the message. Today's tarot frequency, the three cards, along with the numerology and astrology, we're going to take care of that for you. We're going to give you a picture, a feel. For example, 1776, America became an independent nation, signed Declaration of Independence. Next year, 250 years anniversary. Oh, and by the way, two planets that were there when we signed the declaration, Uranus and Pluto, were exactly the same spot about a year or two ago. They're still impacting because those planets are generational. But you see what's going on in the world, a revolution. In fact, when we talk about the American Revolution, a few years afterwards, they had the French Revolution. Well, we're going through the American Revolution now. We know we have to evolve, and we're coming to the point where we realize we can't play nice. But take a look at the whole world. They're in exactly the same position. Same energy, different circumstances, but the same energy. So that's the point. So, that being the case, before we move on too far and I forget, I got an email for you. I've been meaning to do this for a little while and I'm lazy. I'm also old, so I forget sometimes. But I got one email that you can send your comments to tau-tarot@proton.me. Tau-tarot@proton.me. Good, bad, indifferent, doesn't make any difference. I watch that thing and I probably will respond within 24 to 48 hours at the most. Got it down to one email, so even I can't screw it up that badly. Tau-tarot@proton.me. Alrighty, so we're looking for the energetic cycle. We're using the tarot to tap into it. Let's begin the Tarot Manifested reading with something I call astrologic. Remember, I said I do astrology, numerology for 50 years. Let's take a look. You see at the top of the page on the right side, Conquest of America. I've been doing this for, a month now, I think. And it came to me because, as I mentioned, next year is the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, if we survive. I think the odds are pretty good of that, but I think we're in for surprise or two or three. Nevertheless, with that idea in mind, we talk about the conquest of America, which began 1492 at least, if not earlier, but 1492. Spanish and the Italians, Christopher Columbus, came to America and then began the conquest of America. It got real interesting because England said, hey, we're not going to be left out. England and Spain were enemies. So the English really worked hard at trying to establish colonies here in the New World, as they called it. Indians had a different name for it, but who cared about the Indians? They weren't important. So as we get into 1500s, 1600s, there becomes a kind of relationship. In that time period, European bankers started something called the Bank of England. King needed to fight something. I mean, that's what kings do. They start wars, and these guys were no different in the 15, 16, 1700s. So they said, hey, I got to fight a war. You guys got money. The European banker said, hey, yeah. But I'll tell you what, as part of the deal, you have to let us set up the Bank of England. You don't own any part. Well, you can have shareholders. And I mean, king, queen, you want to give them a piece of the action. But we run it. We own it. And from that time forward, they focused on the colonies. And in fact, just as a small example, you've heard of the Boston Tea Party. Well, that came because we're talking about people from England primarily at that time. They liked tea. And the Rothschilds, who controlled the British Tea Company, kept raising rates. Sound familiar? In any event, the people, the colonists here in America, who had already separated emotionally, spiritually from England pretty much, said, no, up yours. We're not doing it. No representation. You can't tax us. And that kind of set the ball rolling for independence. But the Bank of England, European bankers, Rothschilds primarily, although not exclusively, decided, hey, look, we got a good thing here in America. Let's create our own bank, just like the Bank of England. We'll call it the Bank of the United States. Well, they did it once right after the Revolutionary War. The 20-year lease ran out. They wanted to do it again. They had to fight for it. Pissed them off. That's why we got in the War of 1812. Yeah, Mr. Rothschild said that we we needed to be taught a lesson. Well, the second session, 20-year session, lease ran out. Andrew Jackson said, "No, no, no." They tried to assassinate him. They didn't succeed. Abraham Lincoln, they did succeed. Oh, yeah, I know you've been sold the idea that the Civil War was all about slavery. No, it wasn't. Slavery was already disappearing. The cotton gin was changing, the plantation stuff. More innovations, more technology were in the works. Uh, Change was inevitable. Abraham Lincoln himself said, "I have two enemies. One is the group of people in the South who want to break away, but the bigger enemy are the bankers. They got a hold of him." And so they did not give up. They kept fighting. And so that's the deal. That's why I'm doing the conquest of America. And we're at a point right now, 1900 to 1905, brand new century. Everybody was excited about the times ahead. But again, those European bankers were pissed off. William McKinley. Yeah, Bill was messing around with their finances. You do not mess around with their finances. You ask Gaddafi, you'd ask Saddam Hussein, you want to get your own money? You want to print your own money? You want to walk away from the European bankers? We'll kill you. Well, that's what they did with William McKinley. His vice president, Teddy Roosevelt, took over. He decided to take on the banks, and he really clamped on them really hard. Unfortunately, the guy who followed him really didn't pay attention. We'll talk about that probably tomorrow or the next day. So William McKinley gets assassinated because he's fooling around with the nation's money and the bankers say no. Teddy Roosevelt sits on the bankers and really sits on them pretty good. We also have in this time period, 1900 and 1905, the Panama Canal talks begin. They weren't building yet. They were working out a deal. U.S. Steel, the Ford Motor Company, a couple of others, they begin. That certainly moved us in a big direction. And believe it or not, we had the first modern baseball World Series game between 1900 and 1905. It was an interesting time, a fascinating time, but a very powerful time because you're seeing the rise of huge corporations. You're seeing the push of the European bankers, and those two things meet up, and we're heading that down the road, maybe a day or two or three, and we'll get to that. In terms of the astrology, Jupiter, Uranus were in an unfavorable thing. Jupiter was in Pisces, Uranus in Sagittarius. That's a square. It just doesn't, square peg, round hole. It just doesn't fit. So Jupiter wants to expand. Uranus also wants to expand, but the way they go about it is different. And that's where the clash comes in. And that's where you're seeing, McKinley assassinated by the bankers, Teddy Roosevelt coming in going, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm going to sit it on you guys." It's just a rise. And of course, we got U.S. Steel, Ford Motor Company, and other big corporations developing. There was a push-pull situation in the United States at that time. We also have Saturn in Aquarius, Neptune in Cancer. That is what they call in astrology a quincunx. It's 150-degree separation. It's like trying to see around a corner without being able to step around a corner. In other words, you're approaching a corner and you're trying to guesstimate what the hell's on the other side. You hear something, you see something, you smell something, something is there, but you don't know what. And you can't get a vantage point. Well, that's where we were at. In that time period, it looked like there was a big battle being set up with the bankers and the corporations on one side, everybody else on the other. It's a very, very, very interesting and difficult time, which sets up something that permanently, at least to this point anyway, changes America. And again, we'll be talking about that in another day or two, or maybe three at the most. Here we go. We go from here to the meme of the day. Kind of sticking with this idea, we got Tulsi Gabbard. She says taxation is theft when the taxes are used for things that do not serve the public interest. Oh, yeah, that's right. We were talking about big corporations. We were talking about big bankers and the problems and stuff. Tulsi Gabbard just called them out. Taxation is theft when the taxes are used for things that do not serve the public interest, which was exactly why government was formed. That's what the founding fathers had in mind. We go to the missing link, and we have here a little reminder. The truth is still true, even if no one believes it. And it's still a lie if everybody believes it. That's the point of this podcast, by the way. To point out pieces of information to get you thinking in different directions, to kind of get you to think outside the box, because we out of time. We're talking about regenerating. We're talking about making a big deal out of nothing. We are on the brink. And this astrological stuff, 1900 and 1905, is talking about the stuff that put us on the brink. It's a really difficult situation, but we're gonna keep on keeping on. Let's go to the tarot, the Emperor. Structure, leadership. You are going to have structure in your life. The question is, do you design it or is it imposed on you? Does somebody force you to have to do it? For example, Larry Fink, the guy who runs BlackRock Vanguard State Street, also has been recently appointed, I think, the head of the World Economic Forum, said people cannot own individual homes. They cannot own cars. That's just the way it is. Well, what did Tulsi just say? What's the common good? And it goes back to our Emperor card. Either you decide that you are going to provide the structure and leadership in your life as a citizen, or you're going to walk away from being a citizen and just let them do to you whatever they want to do to you. It's up to you. We go to the next one, the Chariot. That's focusing, manifesting. Again, do you want to be led or do you want to be a kind of leader? It doesn't mean that you have to lead everybody, but your own life. Are you responsible for your own life, your own choices? Well, the way that you figure that out, Chariot card, you focus, you manifest, you use your subconscious to figure things out. And the final card is the Star card. It's the healing card overall, but it talks about guidance, inspiration. If you choose to be the emperor in your own life, you choose to set up the structure in your life, you choose to be your own leader, and then focus on that thought, you're in for a surprise. All kinds of inspiration will be coming to you. Not in obvious ways, but it's going to be coming to you. And you need inspiration now more than ever. We're out of time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it as always, 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 always. You guys make it worthwhile. Please like and subscribe. I tell you every day about the issues on the internet. They're very sneaky. Help us out. Like and subscribe. So between now and the next time you and I get together and do this tarot manifesting thing, peace and blessings.